What an epic location and what a setting for a bike race. Time is here. I've built this one up quite a bit over the last few weeks, both on the channel and in my head. We're in Megeve. It's time to ride the 2024 Haute Route Alps. Let's do it.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of a documentary about my ride at the 2024 Haute Route Alps. The first 4 days of racing have been pretty incredible. Covering over 10,000 metres of climbing, riding some of the most iconic mountains in cycling. I've ridden with George Hincapie and hit a power PB of Alpe d'Huez, but we ain't done yet. We've still got another 3 epic stages to ride as we move towards our end goal and that finishing line in Nice. Day 5 was pretty short at just 86 kilometres. We were riding from Alpe d'Huez, going over the Col du Lautaret and the stage finish atop of the brutally tough Col de Granon. In total, the stage had just over 2,800 metres of climbing and 2 time sections which counted towards the overall classification. The first time section started immediately after the descent of Alpe d'Huez and ran 33 kilometres all the way at the top of the Col du Lautaret, and the second was the ascent of the Col de Granon. I'm currently sitting a solid mid-pack position of 61st. And I went into today's stage hoping to move up a little on GC. Okay, so we're on to day 5, got 3 more stages left to go. Bit of a bonus today. It's a short stage, so we've got a bit of a lie-in. Race starts at 8:30. Legs, as you'd expect at this point in the race, starting to feel pretty tired. After 4 hard days, I've got absolutely no idea how my legs are going to respond today. But given how I felt in yesterday's time trial, I've stopped trying to second guess it. We'll get out there, get on the first climb, see how we get on.
Easy in the neutral convoy, stay behind Jeff's car. And then we turn left at Pont d'Oison, and you can let those horses go. Don't spare the horses. 15 seconds. 3, 2, 1, let's go!
So we rolled out of Alpe d'Huez, and I've got to say this was a pretty incredible way to start the day. The blue skies and stunning scenery was sweet, albeit short relief from the tired sensations coming from my legs.
Straight up to 400 watts.
As soon as we went through the start of the time zone, the race exploded into life. I was riding at 400 watts, legs screaming, trying to move forward, all the while thinking, what the fuck? As we hit the start of the Lautaret, the race was well and truly blown to pieces, with riders spread all over the road. Yet again, I was stuck in no man's land, looking to find a group to ride with up this next long stretch. Eventually, Zaki and Yale made their way up, and with Zaki setting a super strong tempo, we eventually formed a solid 10-strong group as we hit the climb proper.
We've been riding for just over an hour. 10k in the climb of the Lautaret. Managed to get myself into a decent group. tapping along at a decent pace. Set off trying to stay with the front group, but I realised fairly soon that those guys were riding a bit too hard, so I sat up. So far this climb's been okay, pretty shallow gradients, beautiful scenery. Can sit in the wheels, follow, try and save as much as I can for the Granon.
As the road continued to rise, the group fragmented and there were 6 of us at the midway point, with Zaki largely responsible for driving the pace. Meanwhile, Johannes, who was the guy on the other sick SLA in the group, and me were sat last wheel at times absolutely on the rivet. Occasionally, Yale would start to struggle and Zaki would temporarily cool the jets, give me a chance to get a breather before the next push.
That's a nice pull, that one.
Oh, that man.
Yeah, solid.
Oh, without him.
Yeah, totally.
After that near 2-hour climb up the Lautaret, it was nice to be able to just get my head up, take in the views and enjoy this long, neutralised solo cruise down the descent. This took us down to Saint Chaffrey and the start of the Col du Granon. Although this next climb was one of the shorter of the week, it was also one of the steepest, with ramps that were guaranteed to destroy the legs on the run to the finish.
Riding up the low slopes of Col du Granon. This one's 11k, average at over 9%, up to the finish.
As had been the case so many times this week, I rode onto the climb solo, not feeling great, knowing it was going to be solid graft to get up to that finishing line. Granon was steep, it was hot, and the other thing I remember is the flies. They were absolutely everywhere. As I rode into the final few kilometres of the climb, I knew the tank was near empty and 230 watts felt like it was my limit. A few riders came past me as once again I felt like I was going backwards on this absolute killer of a climb. It was amazing to watch this footage back and see how quickly the grimace turned into a satisfied smile after crossing that finishing line each day. Stage done, and it was time to head to the event village to refuel and begin the recovery process for what lay ahead on day 6. Going into this stage and considering what we'd already ridden, I thought it would be something of a formality. Only 86 kilometers long with a mere 2,800 meters of climbing on paper seemed like light work in comparison with previous epic 7-hour days. However, it proved to be anything other than this. Although the Col du Lautaret isn't steep, it goes on and on and on, and that finish on the Col de Granon is absolutely hellish. At the end of the stage, I crossed the finishing line in 74th place, feeling completely empty. The intimidating thought of what lay ahead the next day though was ringing through my head for the rest of that day. This result left me 61st on the overall classification, and with widening time gaps of the riders around me, there was now less riders to take note of each day as I looked to stem the flow of riders passing me, whilst at the same time chipping away at that top 50 placing. So day 6 had arrived and it was time to ride the biggest climb of the week, the Col du Lautaret. At 23 kilometers long and topping out at 2,700 meters above sea level, seeing this climb on the stage profile was definitely a little bit intimidating. More so knowing how fragile I've been feeling in the last few days. Stage 6 was also the longest of the week, riding 139 kilometers from the start line in Briançon to the finish in Granon. There was 2 other major climbs en route, starting with the Col de Var, and we finished on the final 7-kilometer ramp in the run up to Granon. This took the total ascent for the stage to a none too insignificant 3,650 meters. There was 4 timed sections on today's parkour, starting with a 22-kilometer rolling stretch which kicked in after the opening 7k neutral zone. The next 3 timed sections were on the ascents of the 3 main climbs of the day. Despite the growing fatigue amongst the riders, Fergus was doing his bit at the start to keep morale high, the tunes were pumping and good vibes were flowing as we rolled out of town. Before long, we were out of the 7-kilometer neutral zone, and once again, it was time to ignore the sensations coming from the legs and go racing. We passed through the start of the timing, and as it had every day, the hammer went down, the group stretched out, and it was a case of trying to find a rhythm and hook up with the group. Eventually this did happen and I got into a decent group of around 20 riders who were pulling strong. By now you recognise the riders who were riding at a similar level to you, and this group was full of familiar faces, including Dion, Zaki, Yale and Moria. This stretch was properly full gas and there was a few short steep kickers along the way which completely shredded the legs. What a way to start this stage, and as you'll have seen, every other stage had been exactly the same. Full gas, every kilometre of every time section from kilometre 1 until the finishing line.
Oh, some start of the day, I wasn't expecting that one. Absolutely rapid speed. First few little climbs, descents, going through them villages. Jeez, flat out, full gas. Coming into the next section, Col du Var. Legs don't feel too bad at the minute. This climb will sort it out though.
The early slopes of the Col du Lautaret were fairly shallow gradients, and I was again in a good group who were riding a solid but manageable tempo. Although I was definitely suffering at this point, it was tolerable suffering as opposed to being excruciating.
So, about 10k to go on the Col du Lautaret. Guys are actually riding this one pretty steady. I think mindful. We've got the Col du Lautaret to come. Lautaret is the highest climb of the week. Tops out with 2,700 metres of elevation. Absolute beast.
As we moved towards the top of the climb, a few riders decided to push on instead of being on the back foot. For once, I was able to follow.
Down now towards the start of the Col du Lautaret. High point of the week, tops out at 2,700 metres. A little bit nervous about this one. Gradient's supposed to be fairly consistent all the way up. The descent off the Col du Lautaret was pretty tremendous. Just rolling on to the bottom of the Col du Lautaret now. Garmin's riding 21.5k to the top, 1,700 metres of climbing.
Onto the Lautaret, and by now I expect you know the script. I was solo, which was good as it meant I was able to ride at my own pace. I wouldn't be tempted to push too hard, too soon on a climb that would end up taking me 1 hour and 40 minutes to ride. For context, Tadej Pogačar rode the same climb at this year's tour, sub 1 hour, which is absolutely insane.
.11k to go to the top of the net. The man with the hammer has got me. Legs are popped. Seems to be a recurrent theme. Apologies for repeating myself. Just going through 2,000 metres.
Moving on to the top section of the climb, and I hook up with Sindre, who rides up to me from behind. Forming alliances on long climbs like this is massively important for morale, as it undoubtedly pushes you to dig deeper and ride that bit harder when your legs and your body is telling you to stop. Sindre is setting a great tempo. I'm unable to offer up much help on the front, but the dude is happy to pull. I think, knowing at this point, we were both all in.
Thank you, mate.
Do the best.
I was ready to sit up there. It's fucking
Oh my
wrecked.
god. I was empty in the start of the hill.
With every long killer climb, there's usually an equally long killer descent, and this is one of the best of the week.
At descent of the Burnett with an absolute belter. Just got the climb up, out of a run now to the finish. 6k, legs are empty. Gonna push on though.
Last climb of the day and one of the last of the week. I decided to hit this one hard from the bottom, and I quickly catch Sebastian. Sebastian is a rider from Belgium who's been getting stronger all week, moving from behind me on the overall to 20 minutes in front of me at the end of yesterday's stage. When I catch him though, he seems to knock it into another gear, and it was all I could do to follow.
You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili, from young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats.
A bit further up the climb and we catch Mike from the US. Mike was with the same group as me on the Col du Lautaret and putting a super strong ride up the Burnett, but he seems to be going backwards a bit on this last climb. Sebastian continued to kick on, and as my gas light started to flicker, he dropped me a couple of kilometres from the finish. Mike, who was pretty close to me on the overall, had fallen off the pace a little, and I knew this was an opportunity to take back a little time from him on this final ramp and went all into the finish.
We ready? Who ready? We ready? Who ready? Who? We held steady. I keep dropping back to back. I keep going if you let me. After the confetti, who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Who ready? Who? We ready. Who? Who ready? Who? We ready. Who? Who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Who ready? Who? We ready. Who? Who ready? Who? We ready. Who?
Yes, sir. High five. Woo, baby.
Nice one, Mike.
It was a great feeling to get to the end of that stage. Although there was still one more day left to go, it definitely felt like the hardest parts of the race were behind us. Although, as you'll soon see, the last day was no cakewalk. By this point in the race, the feelings of fatigue, heavy tired legs were all very normal. Every day it was just a case of ignoring these sensations, getting your head down and getting on with it. And that was definitely the case on the Burnett today. During those last few Ks, I was completely gone. And had it not been for Sindri, I would have probably pulled the plug, sat up and lost a bit more time at the top. I finished the stage in my usual mid-pack spot of 61st. This moved me up 2 places on the overall classification, and I was now sitting in 59th going into the last day. This was it. It was the final day of what had been a truly incredible week of riding. It's hard to put into words how I felt at the start of this stage. It was definitely a bittersweet moment. Day 7 was a none too insignificant 120km run, which took us from the start in Iran to the finishing line and the end of the event in Nice. The route took us over the Col Saint-Martin, which was the only categorised climb in today's stage. After a long 36km neutralised rollout, there was 3 time sections on today's route. The first was the climb of the Col Saint-Martin. The second was a 26km stretch of rolling road, which on paper looked absolutely nothing, but in reality, it was an absolute hammerfest. Riders went all out in this section of road, looking to gain time and make the final moves up the overall classification. The last time section was a crazy 1km sprint up a steep ramp in the back streets of Nice up the finishing line.
The last day is here, and although there's part of me that doesn't want this incredible experience to come to an end, there's definitely part of me that can't wait to get that finish line in Nice and get this job done. Let's do it. Lining up in a run for the final stage definitely had last day of term vibes. On leaving town, the long 39km neutralised downhill section was a great way to start the day and let the achievements from the last week of riding really sink in. Before long though, we took a sharp left turn off the main road and started the last categorised climb of the week and the first of today's time sections up the Col Saint-Martin. Although some of the riders were firmly in party mode for the last day, there was also plenty who wanted to push on and eke every second out of this last climb.
After a few K, I was caught and passed by the rider who was directly behind me on GC, Rob. Rob was just over 3 minutes behind and was riding his climb super strong. Keen not to slip further down the results board, when he came past, I immediately latched onto his wheel. I managed to hold his wheel for a couple of K, but then the gap started to grow. At this point, Rob rode away from me and I didn't see him again. However, as the stage unfolded, I did manage to hold him off on the overall, preserving the majority of the 3-minute lead I had going into this stage.
Hey.
What's on with the last time of the week?
Perfect. Thank you.
Over the Saint-Martin, and it sure felt great to get this final test ticked off, but the racing for today wasn't finished just yet. As we rode onto the second time section, there was a few Brazilian riders at the front of our group setting a ferocious tempo. It seemed they were riding for fellow Brazilian Maria, who was sitting second on the female classification. The intensity being injected by the Brazilian riders split the group I was in two, and I just about made the split. This next 26km stretch of road was full gas racing. As we hit one of the short ramps along the stretch of road, the Brazilian riders seemed to sit up, and a few riders, including Mike from the US and Mark from the UK, decided to take this opportunity to push on. My legs were feeling decent at this point, so I followed. Through this tunnel, and Mark from the UK made his move as we hit the next descent and got a gap. The group then came back together on this next descent, but seemed to sit up. At this point, Mark was still up the road, and knowing he was fairly close to me on the overall, I had to give it a dig to get over to him. closed the gap as we approached the end of the time section, but we were both pretty gassed at this point. Not too long later, the group containing the Brazilians who kicked it all off came back to us, and as we rolled through the end of the time section, it was status quo.
Last climb done, dropping down towards Nice. So Mace feels pretty good. What a week it's been. I actually feel quite emotional. Been punched the week where times I pushed myself beyond my limits and kept going, got it done.
I dare you dig a little deeper. It makes you feel a little stronger. Who knows what you may find? You'll see it in your own time. It might just take a little longer. Now let the river flow. Can you hear it whisper? It goes by so slow, like a solitary drifter.
We rolled into Nice knowing we had one last kicker to navigate before the finishing line. It was time to go all in and empty the tank.
Will you lead out?
Oh, I got the legs to do that. Shit, I didn't know it was time.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers.
You have the shirt after.
Perfect, thank you.
I dare you dig a little deeper. It makes you feel a little stronger.
And that was it. What a week. The end of an epic 7 days of riding, memories that'll last me a lifetime. At the end of it all, I finished the event in 58th position. Although results-wise, I was a little way off what I'd hoped for at the start. In terms of the event and my overall experience, it massively exceeded my expectations. The organisation had been superb, the weather other than on that first day had been perfect, and the route and scenery from beginning to end was mind-blowing. When I entered this event back in January, I did so to give me a major goal to work towards. Something to focus on and give purpose to my riding and training, which would in turn play a part in me getting my life back on track. Without having that event to work towards, I would have likely drifted in and out of riding, lost focus and returned to my old ways. Knowing how challenging this event was going to be, I knew I had to stay committed to the cause. And to get the training done, go there, complete the event, it was like turning a page in my life. I'd proved I could do things beyond what I thought I was capable of, and in turn, also proved my life could be different. This video is going out at the end of 2024, but having had this experience, I want more of the same in 25. Events have been entered and I'm just finalising my diary for the coming year. I look forward to sharing this with you guys in the coming weeks. Before signing out, I just want to thank everyone who's watched and supported the channel this year. Documenting this journey and having your support has 100% kept me on track and accountable. I've loved sharing these event videos this past year and I look forward to hitting the road and doing more of the same, only bigger and better. 25. If you've enjoyed these last two videos and you're not yet subscribed to the channel, do me a favour, hit that subscribe button, like the video, any questions or comments, file them down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. My name's Dave, this is my channel Dave Rides Again. I'm nothing special, just a mammal on a mission. I'll catch you next time.
You waited your whole life, your days turn into nights. I dare you dig a little deeper. It makes you feel a little stronger.